Well, it happened again, you guys. Lunalight have now won another YCS. What's going on, you guys? Slim here to talk to you guys about why Lunalight Orcust just won YCS Ghent. That actually gives Lunalight, of all decks, 2 YCS wins. It won YCS Chicago, if you guys remember, when Raph won with the deck. And now the deck is back. I think a lot of people actually forgot about this deck. And yeah, it's actually currently in the finals of the YCS going on in Niagara Falls as well. So believe it or not, it could be back-to-back videos of why Lunalight Orcust took down 2 YCSs on the same weekend. It's kind of crazy. A lot of people are probably still unfamiliar with what these cards do, and to the people that do know, they do know how just powerful this deck is. Its ability to make Boral Sword, its consistency is crazy, and just the OTKs that it can make by itself, slapping in the Orcust engines, especially with the newest cards, has just made it absolutely insane. A shout out to Johannes. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name, I definitely butcher it, but yeah, he won YCS Ghent with this deck that I have in front of you. There was almost 1,800 players, which is crazy, another huge European event, and I think everyone was shocked. The finals of this was actually Cyber Dragon Orcust versus this Lunalight deck, so it was crazy. We all know how good Cyber Dragon Orcust have been ever since Ed and Calvin profiled the deck, as well as Blair having all his success with the deck, and just everyone having success with the deck at previous regionals these last couple weekends. But of all decks, this was the deck that won. For those of you that are new to this series, consider subscribing. This is where we just go over the deck list, then we talk about why I feel the deck won the YCS, why it took everyone by surprise, and yeah, we'll get into it. So for the monsters, starter cards, of course, Armageddon Knight, it's just your Foolish Burial, Zephyros at combos with the Force Tricks, and then he played Dangers. He maxed out 3 Mothman, 2 Nessie, 2 Jackalope, and 2 Snake. There's a live deck profile, of course, done by Lithium. I'll have it linked down below, and he talks about a lot of his card choices. He talked about how the 3rd Mothman was actually the 41st card. Just being able to combo with it is really important. Just being able to, just get to your like OTK or whatever you're trying to do, set up your board. The ability to make Dweller in this deck makes it one of the best Orcust variants, which is something that he mentioned, which I really like, because you do Dweller in the mirror match against Orcust, you just basically auto win, so it's pretty crazy. The 1 copy of Gizmek Orochi. This card has just been so insane since it first came out. Being able to just summon it to prevent you from dying, being able to just put that extra 2450 on the board is just insane. It's how you game people a lot, so this is really solid. And then the most interesting thing I noticed in this list was 3 Kaiju in the main deck. He talked about how the deck was at 37. I guess this was prior to the 3rd Mothman, but it was like 37 cards, didn't want to change anything, and then just added 3 Kumungus. Being able to do this against Orcust, you basically turn off their Crescendo because you take away the Galatea. Against Striker, you guys know how good this is. You literally just give them this and all their back row is dead. It's pretty crazy, and then you can just freely OTK them with Boral Sword, so it's pretty nuts. For the Lunalight cards, we got the 1 Lunalight, the Emerald Bird, the 3 copies of Kaleido Chick. You guys already know how crazy this is. Being able to Foolish Burial for cost is nuts. The 3 copies of Lunalight Tiger, which is just like, I think they can reborn like 2 or 3 times in a turn, so it's basically like Soul Charge. The 2 copies of the Yellow Martin. That's it for the Lunalights. And then for the Orcust, just 1 Skeleton, 1 Harpor, 2 copies of Nightmare. Spells, there's of course Triple Tenki. Starter card just searches, it searches your Lunalights. It's crazy. 1 copy of Foolish Burial along with 3 copies of Foolish Burial goods. Being able to send this is just really strong. The 3 copies of the Lunalight Perfume, because being able to just basically Rhoda again is nuts. Also a Monster Reborn, so it's crazy. And then for his traps, he main decked the 1 copy of Imperial Order. If you guys notice in the extra deck, he's playing Nightmare Griffin. Basically, you're playing against Sky Striker. You can literally set this up with Griffin and basically auto win, because Striker just auto loses to Imperial Order, so it's pretty crazy. And then the 1 copy of the Lunalight Serenade Dance and the 1 Crescendo, because you're playing Orcust cards. For the side deck, he had triple copies of Gnome Material. He talked about how important this card was. Really good in the mirror match, actually, being able to just cut them off from going any further with their Link monsters. Really good against Orcust, just good against a lot of decks. There are ways to play around this card. He also mentioned that in the deck profile, but for players that don't know how to do that, you basically just kind of skip your turn, and then after that, you can just get OTK'd by this deck, especially in the mirror match, so it's pretty nuts. I'm glad to see that this card was actually side decked. It's a card that people question like pretty much every event. Should I play it? Should I not play it? And leave it to Europe to show us again that why this card is so strong. Of course, 3 copies of Nibiru. The card is just nuts. You guys already know. Overextend, get punished. The 1 copy of the Starving Venom and the 3 Super Poly. This is just really solid against outing Orcust boards, outing Thunder Dragon boards, outing pretty much anything that plays Dark Monsters. You just out them. They have no response, and you just start going from there. 3 copies of Twin and 2 copies of Red Reboot to cover all the back row decks, because there's definitely back row decks still, along with the Subtail Terrors, the Alter Guys, all those decks you guys already know, and they play a lot of those decks in Europe, so this just basically give you all that coverage and then being able to OTK them, because this deck does consistently OTK the opponent, so very, very solid. And then on to his extra deck. We'll save that one for last, but we got the 1 Dweller, the 1 Tiger King. This card is actually nuts. I actually played against this deck at the LA Regionals, and when they're staring down Colossus, they have a really hard time playing, because if you notice, this deck searches a lot, but if they do find a way to make Tiger King, being able to just blanket the whole Thunder Dragon board is insane. So this card is nuts. It also gets to your starter card Tenki, so that's great. The 1 Dingirsu, the Nyarla, and the Azathoth package, so that you can just play around Nibiru with this. You got the 1 copy of Force Tricks, which gets you to your Zephyros, the 1 Tornado Dragon. Since you do have all the level 4s in the deck, you do have the kind of the flexibility to play this card. It's basically for back row decks as well as Striker. The OTK card, the best card, probably the best card in the whole deck, just being able to OTK with Boral Sword consistently is nuts. The 1 Curious, this card's really cool. I love this card, being able to send any card. Like I said, you can combo this with Nightmare Griffin, sending the Imperial Order, setting the Imperial Order against Striker. They pretty much lose right there. The 2 copies of Galatea, the already mentioned Nightmare Griffin. The card's actually really cool because unless the monsters are linked, they don't get their effect, so that's really, really solid as well. I think a lot of people forget about that effect, Nightmare Griffin, but this deck link climbs so easily that it's just one of the few decks that actually can play this card. And then the 2 Nightmares and Nightmare Mermaid and Phoenix to do your Orcust combo. So that's the main side and extra. Now we're going to talk about the main reasons why I feel this deck won. I'm going to say the number 1 reason, of course, I always say this, is probably the Pilot. Johannes knew this deck very well. You could tell by the live deck profile. He was very pretty much decided on his card choices. He even said at the end of the deck profile that there was nothing he would change. So everything in this deck, flew perfectly for him. That's one of the main things, especially the Pilot. You need to have a really good Pilot with decks like this, because you can make one simple misplay and you can lose. I'd say another reason why this deck did so well is I don't think it was as expected as everyone thought. So everyone has been focusing on Cyber Dragon Orcust, everyone has been focusing on Sky Strikers, Thunder Dragon, Salamangreats, all the usual suspects, and this is a deck that even us channel like content creators sometimes forget to mention. But yeah, Lunalight Orcust was a deck that was just kind of in the rogue category, and it just of course comes out and proves to be one of the best decks. And I think a lot of people, again, were not prepared for this, and didn't really have an answer to a lot of what was going on here, especially if the deck lost the die roll. It could just OTK you so consistently with Boral Sword, there's nothing you could do. And going first, they could just set up a board of Dweller, Crescendo, stuff like that. He talks about like the board he ends on, and I mean, most decks can't play around that, so it's pretty nuts. And like I've always said, when a deck can go first or second, it's definitely one of the best decks in the game, and a lot of people just didn't pay attention to the Lunalight cards. Like, I think everyone forgot after RAF 1 Chicago, and the deck did top a little bit, but it hasn't seen that much play. But it's definitely something that I think we're going to see more players gearing towards going forward. But another reason I felt this deck won was for the fact that not only is it able to, like I said, be able to play going first, going second, it's going first board is something that's pretty crazy. Like I said, he mentions it in the profile, and just ending on your normal Orcust combo plus a Dweller plus just other things to where they can't do anything. He talked about, I believe, having the Dingirsu, being able to protect everything, as well as having the counter trap to just be another hard negate. It's pretty crazy. And one thing that if you did notice that I actually think is kind of crazy looking at this deck now, there's no hand traps in the main deck, and in the side there is literally nothing but no material and Nibiru. That's pretty nuts. It just shows that the combo deck can do so well, like I said, going first or second, either setting up a really hard board for you to get over, or being able to just OTK you going second. So that's pretty nuts. And I'd say another reason why I feel this deck won YCS Ghent is that it has been said multiple times, and I think it's clear now, this is probably one of the best Orcust variants just in the game right now. Being able to play the Orcust cards, a lot of decks can do that. You guys have known how Orcust cards have become like, just kind of like a splashed in engine in pretty much every deck, but this deck really does it well. It really, facilitates everything, sending stuff to the graveyard, reborning so many times with Lunalight Tiger, being able to just get so much advantage. And this is one of the few decks, again, that can actually make Dweller, and Orcust is such a heavily played deck, such a well represented deck, that being able to Dweller in the mirror match is just so insane. It pretty much can be an auto win right then and there. So I think it's just crazy. And yeah, overall, I think most people are surprised. Like I said, right now we don't have the results yet of YCS Niagara. Hopefully by the time this video goes up, we will, and we might have a repeat again of talking about this deck. But yeah, so it could be crazy. It could win on back-to-back YCSs on the same weekend. But yeah, overall, I think the deck is insane. I think it was very well built, very well piloted. If you guys watch the stream, you guys will see, especially especially in the finals, how well he piloted this. And the last thing we'll talk about, I remembered, was the Mega Fleet. So everyone is questioning, why did he put Mega Fleet? It's because everyone knew Cyber Dragon Orcust has been doing wonders. You guys have seen its success at not only regionals, but it made it all the way to the finals, and he actually did use this card in the finals. You just take away their whole board, and then you just basically OTK them and it's like over. It's pretty nuts. But yeah, overall, I really like this deck. I want to know what you guys think in the comments below. If you guys liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Let me know your thoughts as to why you feel Lunalight Orcust won YCS Ghent. And like I said, we'll be coming at you guys next with whichever deck wins YCS Niagara Falls. I actually think the finals right now, from what I was told, is actually the Grand Maju deck versus Lunalight Orcust in the finals. So that's so crazy. It could definitely be Lunalight Orcust again, or Grand Maju will finally win. It'd be nuts. But yeah, overall, those are my thoughts. I'd love to hear yours in the comments below. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.